Hey there, YouTube. I don't know how many people we got tuned in. I think I got here right on time. Yeah, it's right at 6 p.m. Have anybody in here watching yet? Hey, there's James. Hey, James, how are you doing? Must have been sitting there waiting for this thing to start. John Warren, how are you doing, John? Videos by Al. Hopefully I'm not lagging. My screen on the right says that I'm lagging. I just ran upstairs real quick. Had to throw a contact. Had to change my contacts. This my left one's still bugging me a little bit. I kind of had a self-critiquing experience. Um, for all you young kids out there, you should never do this. But I use smokeless tobacco, and I didn't wash my hands after throwing a little bit of that in, and then I threw some contacts in. So that's self-critiquing. I probably won't do that again. Lead Earthworks. Hey, Brandon, how are you doing? Richard, how are you doing, Richard? I still don't know how to pronounce your last name, and I apologize, but I'm gonna probably butcher this thing. Savage Leo, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, hey Katie, Carlton Hopper, Jennifer Murtha Stevens, how are you doing? I want everybody to keep Richard in your thoughts. Richard's having some heart issues, and so if you're a religious person, say some prayers for Richard. Keep him in your prayers. If you're not a religious person, just keep him in your thoughts. But he's got some heart issues going on, and Savalio. All right, thanks for lining me out there, Richard. Anyway, everybody keep him in your thoughts, and also check him out. He's got a channel with, I think he's got 7 subscribers now, but he's got some pretty cool model trains on there. So not only is he a heavy equipment mechanic, but he is also a model railroader. John Warren, you only do that one, speaking of family spirit. Yeah, that's true. Adam Gibson, how are you doing? Oh, Copenhagen's his poison. Thanks for that, Adam. Also, well, Jennifer Murtha Stevens is on here. I don't know. Do you want me just to call you Jennifer Stevens, Jennifer Murtha Stevens? You just want Murtha Stevens, however you want. Let me know. But for those that missed out, I received this in the mail last week, and this came from Jennifer Murtha Stevens. Her husband has, I think, a YouTube channel or maybe a website. I don't know. Stevens Axe Works. So go check that out. Dickard with Dave, how are you doing, Dickard with Dave? Hubby Ed said, "Oh, tell Ed I said hello." And then also the other day I got hijacked in my office, my new YouTube studio. Some really good friends of ours, their kids have a YouTube channel, and they've had it for a few years, I think, and they just post some random stuff, some gaming stuff, whatever, vacation videos. But they had to borrow. They borrowed our carpet shampooer, so they came over and picked it up. And her son made his way into my office down here and left me a note. And it said, and this is the name of their YouTube channel. It's called The Kids Down on the Corner. So they would like everybody to subscribe to The Kids Down on the Corner. So I figured I'd give them a shout out. They made a point to come in here and leave me a note. So, Garnold Coffee, how are you doing, Garnold? So, lighting good, audio good. If anybody could give me a thumbs up, let me know. It's hard for me to tell just looking on my computer screen. Looks like I might need a little bit more light. Blue Line Landworks, how are you doing, Blue Line Landworks? Blue Line's another channel you guys need to check out. That he's got some crazy good drone footage. I wish he lived closer, because I would actually hire him to film some of my crane stuff. Dickard with Dave, 5x5. Perfect. So, I I want to talk about something real quick before we get into the nuts and bolts and all this good stuff. Anything you guys want to talk about? On my last video, and I typically don't let naysayers bother me, and I can't really say that what they were saying bothered me. But on my last video on that 79,000-pound anhydrous tank, I had two people make comments about not using a spreader bar on that pick, and that it's basically that it would be inappropriate for people to rig a tank in such a fashion. It's not. Okay, let me back up a little bit. Everybody has different ways of doing things. Picking a tank like that is not unsafe as long as the proper requirements have been met. So one, the tank was empty, completely empty, and I verified that before I started the pick. And you guys don't get to see everything that we do on in the scope of our crane work. My videos would be they'd be in the movie theater. They'd be 3 hours long or more. So when I first pull into a site, I assess the site, make sure that site conditions even allow for the crane to be there. Power lines, anything underground, where do I need to place the machine to make the pick, all of that good stuff. Secondly, I assess what I'm getting ready to lift. So that tank had the drain out of it. So we verified that it was completely empty. And we thought we had center, but we weren't perfectly center on our rigging. And you guys saw that in the video because we had to pick it up 3 times. But as long as you are dead center in the center of gravity of that load, and you have a steep enough sling angle, so like the sling angle was about like so, the friction coefficient involved in sliding the rigging to the center of the tank is greater than the force required to slide the rigging into the center of the tank. So therefore, anybody that is curious, you can take a pencil and a couple pieces of thread, and you can wrap it around that pencil and spread the thread out and then lift it up in the center, and you will see that the thread does not automatically slide right to the center. So anyway, I wanted to get that over with, get it out there. I guess it did kind of bug me a little bit because it made me second guess myself. And I typically don't do that unless I'm in a situation where something has changed while I'm mid pick. But I want to touch on that. One thing I'm thankful for on my subscribers, and Richard was in on part of the commenting. On my channel, we can have adult discussions, and I love that. I love the fact that people can become engaged with other people on my channel and have adult discussions. So please keep that up. That's fantastic. So, all right. Now that I'm off my soapbox, what do you guys want to talk about? Actually, I need to get caught up here. I'm doing good. I haven't watched the 125-foot pole video yet, Blue Line. I've been at the lake all weekend. So, Richard used a little colorful language there at the end of the sentence. So if we got any little kids, you might sway away from that. But I was at the lake all weekend, so I didn't watch any YouTube videos. We just got back about 3.5 hours ago, got the camper unloaded, got some food in my belly, and down here to do this. So let's see. Oh, James like watching the crab steer. Next time I have to crab steer into a spot, I'll try to get the camera set up outside because it does look a lot better from the side instead of just me holding the camera out the window trying to get a shot while I'm trying to drive. But I haven't even got caught up on Elite Earthworks videos. I've probably got 3 hours of videos to watch tonight. Wow, Blue Line's already got 4,300 views on that, 90 new subs. Congratulations, Blue Line. That's awesome. Yeah, and Richard did say he was not the one in the seat and didn't know everything that was going on, and that's a good point. Operator has final call on picks. So John Warren just got back from the river camping. It was a good. It was a good weekend here too. It wasn't overly hot. I mean, it was warm, but it wasn't overly hot. Lead Earthworks been cracking them out. I saw that you've been cracking them out. I got the notifications, but um, somewhere in our family we're using a lot of data on our phone plan, and I think I narrowed it down this weekend. Um, my son is like playing games and watching YouTube 24/7 on his phone. So I didn't watch much on YouTube this weekend on my phone. However, I did get to do some fishing with Andy with G4 Outdoors. Where we were at is about a half an hour from where Andy lives. And so Andy, unfortunately, Randy had to work. He was on a train somewhere in Jeff City. But Andy brought his boat up, and Andy and myself and another friend of ours jumped in and trolled around and did a little fishing, and Andy smoked us. So later first does he take after his dad? In some aspects, he does. My son takes after me. Casey Mack, you turn off. That's a good idea. If you turn off HD, it uses a lot less data. I didn't even think of that. Thanks for the idea on that. Blue Line asked if we did any fishing. We did. We caught some largemouth bass. I caught one. I think Andy caught 4 or 5. And I'm attributing that to the fact that he had home field advantage. But that's just an excuse. The bottom line was he was out fishing me. So did everybody have a good 4th? Everybody still have all their fingers? At least everybody can count to 10, or those that could count to 10 before the 4th can still count to 10? John Warren didn't get any fishing. Busy having adult beverages. That happens. I did tell him I usually fish with a bigger hook. Casey Mackey 4th was awesome. That's good to hear. James still got all his fingers. He doesn't mess with fireworks anymore. Adam Gibson, all toes and fingers accounted for. Perfect. So I've got some more river footage coming up, I think, this week. Well, it's going to be about 2 weeks out before you guys see it, but that dock video from back in the spring, they're having a big catfishing tournament on the Missouri River, I think next weekend. And they want to add a couple sections to their dock. So I got to go in Wednesday and throw a couple more pieces of dock in the river. Lead Earthworks. You worked all weekend, Brandon? I mean, it was a good weekend I don't know what it was like down there, but it was bearable up here. The next few weeks is going to be pretty nasty, though. So to let everybody know where we're at on footage, I'm about 2.5 weeks behind now. So I've got about 10 or 12 videos worth of footage saved up that I need to start making some videos on. I kind of slacked off for a few days getting all this stuff moved into the basement and with camping and whatnot. So Jennifer Stevens had a huge birthday party for. Oh, when's your kid's birthday? The only reason I ask is mine happens to be on the 5th. So I turned the big 41 on the 5th. So now I'm over halfway to 80. At this point, I'm just going to cruise on in there. Blue Line, I wish you didn't get that much footage. The thing with collecting that much footage is I try to post 2 videos a week, but sometimes I only get one. And I had to, whenever I do a live stream in a week, I count that as a video. So it all adds up to what I try to do is I try to keep my watch, like my views, at about 1,500 every 48 hours on my analytics. I try to keep it there constantly, and it's dipped off this last week, but that's where I try to keep it. And that to me seems like a happy enough medium that I'm getting enough footage out there for YouTube to recognize it. I'm not just bombarding you guys with crane footage, and it gives me a little bit to put in the bank in case we're slow 1 week or 2 weeks. Thanks for all the birthday wishes. That's awesome. Ed Stevens, I'm still older. Until August, celebrate. Hey, there's nothing wrong with celebrating early. But Blue Line, that's how I do it. I mean, I just try to keep my views about about 1,500 per 48-hour period. I just try to keep it hovering around there. How many minutes per week? Like how many minutes of footage, or how many minutes of what? Oh, James got a new camera to use, but channel one can't use it yet. It won't work with the ones I have. Also download the editing software I use is HitFilm Express, and it's got a learning curve to it. So just be patient with it. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube to help with HitFilm Express. Also, if you have any questions, if I can help you in any way with it, shoot me an email, and I'll do what I can. I'll do what I can via email to help you learn HitFilm Express. But there really is a lot of video on YouTube on how to use HitFilm Express. Brandon with Elite Earthworks is another one that's using HitFilm, and there at the beginning he did tell me it was kind of a pain, but I think he's getting the swing of it. Okay, Blue Line view time. My average, I think my average view time is 8 minutes and 24 seconds, if that's what you're asking, like my audience retention, which is pretty good. It could always be better, but that's not bad considering I've got 25 and 30-minute long videos. So it's really hard with crane work, I think, to keep someone just constantly watching from start to finish without them getting a little bit bored somewhere and fast forwarding some, or just skipping to the meat and potatoes of it and then going on to the next one. So James, what camera did you get? I don't know much about anything other than GoPro, because GoPro is all I use. Elite said he's understanding it much better now, and like I said, there is a learning curve to HitFilm, and really to any editing software. Oh, he's having trouble with his laptop screen. Another thing you might run into with HitFilm, and I think Brandon may have experienced some of this also, is if you start doing a lot of fast forwarding inside of HitFilm itself, it can be pretty taxing on a computer. And I think any editing software probably would be. Asking a computer to edit videos is some of the hardest things you can ask a computer to do. Got a Vivitar 360. Okay. Oh, and it'll shoot 4K and 360 degrees. I don't ever shoot 4K. And the reason why I don't shoot 4K is, one, that's even harder for your computer to try to eat all that information and turn it into something remotely like a video. And second is there's not everybody on YouTube can stream in 4K. So there's still enough people out there with a low enough internet speed that they can't stream in 4K. Which I understand YouTube would probably scale it down to even 480 if they needed to, but I think I would think you would lose something there. So I try to do everything 1080 and 30 frames per second. Brian D, former rigger, full respect for what you do. We appreciate it. Hey, thanks, Brian. And I've got a lot of respect for riggers too. I mean, I see a lot of riggers get into some places that I would not put myself. Blue Line definitely found that out it's going to be 2K into an upgraded laptop. I just use a desktop, but because to me, I think you can build or buy a desktop tower for a lot less than you can buy a laptop, because laptop components typically are more expensive because they have to be made smaller. But I've got a dedicated desktop computer for nothing but YouTube and video editing. Jennifer Martha Stevens asks, what editing software do you recommend? I use HitFilm Express. The things that I like about HitFilm Express, one is it's free. So you can go in and you can download basically the full basic version of it for free. And then as your editing technique gets better, or if you feel like you want to add different effects or whatnot, then you can buy packs to add to it and start making your videos better. But you don't have to fork out $200 or $300 right in the beginning to start editing videos. And in my opinion, if you haven't edited videos, you're spending $300 on something that you don't even really know how to use. So you're only going to be using about 1/10 of it for the first year or so. So at least with HitFilm, you can have it grow with you. Yes, the time lapse really slows. It does. I can tell when my computer is really starting to not like life, because let's see, I've got 4 or 5 fans in my tower, and those things start humming. Brian, you're kidding. We always trust the guy in the glass box, though. Hey, thanks, Brian. I'm gonna keep making videos as long as people keep watching them. And you're not lying about that glass box. It's a greenhouse. I need to start putting some window tint on the old Tadano. Even with my air conditioner works spectacular, but sometimes with the sunshine in there, it just doesn't keep up. Blue lines. That a $2,000 laptop, man, that's an expensive laptop. But your drone footage is, you could justify a $2,000 laptop to edit those videos because that drone footage is amazing. So, does anybody got any crane questions or anything that they want answered? West Coast Alex, how are you doing, Alex? Adam Gibson, sorry, boss, I have to step out for a bit. Well, thanks for stopping in, Adam. I'm sure I'll probably still be on here when you make it back. Later, this works out. Ceramic window tint loader makes a huge difference. I might have to check that out. How's things out there in Oregon, Alex? I noticed there's some fires and whatnot, kind of south of right there in the Northern California area, maybe into Oregon. Hopefully, none of that affects you. Ooh, doing good. Picking out his $2,500 in hand tools. What kind of hand tools are you picking out, Alex? Is that your budget from your company? Is it logging equipment that you have to have, or are you getting ready to hijack a Snap-on truck? Oh, John asked, how'd the HVAC unit lift go other than the problems he told me about? It went great. I mean, it was a little heavier than what they said it was going to be. The base was right around 6,000 pounds, and then the top unit was 22,000. So the base was about 6,000, the top was about 22,000. I was told like 11 and 15. So, but I was set up and good for, let's see, at that radius, I was good for about, what was it, 36,000 or something. So yeah, that pick, it went well, other than the driver being 4.5 hours late and then not wanting to back in. So when he told me, he said, I just don't think I can back it in here. So I just looked at him like, well, if you brought that all the way from Iowa and you can't back that trailer up, I mean, he had a lot of room. I said, if you can't back in here, that's fine. You can pull in, but I'm going to have to fly the pieces over your cab. And that being the case, you can't be in there while I'm doing that. So you're going to have to stand outside until we get your truck unloaded. And he's like, really? I told him, absolutely. I am not flying those pieces over the cab of your truck. So you're with you in it. So you're going to have to get out of the cab of your truck. So he had to stand out in the heat for about 2.5 hours while we unloaded him. James asked on the hook blocks, what's the biggest hook block that I can use on the crane? We've got our biggest block that we own for it is a 7 shiv block. I think they make a 10 for it. I don't know. I can look in the book, but it's going to take me a little bit to find it if you actually want me to look for it. But I think they make a 10 shiv block for it. But the biggest we have is a 7, so I can run 14 parts a line. West Coast long, it's a problem. Yeah, put in after getting hurt. They're buying a bunch of tools for me to use at the new job. Well, that's good that they're outfitting you with some tools. Hopefully, it's equivalent to what you were put out. John Warren, anytime you do them out. Yes, I always try to set myself up for way more capacity than what I need, but that doesn't always happen. Brian DS, that model crane to my left is awesome. What is it? That's actually a die-cast Tadano 160G-5, which is the series lower than the crane that I operate. I operate a 180G-5, but they don't make that in a die-cast. So my only options were a 160 or the 220, and the 220 looks considerably different than the crane I operate. So this is a scaled version of a 160G-5, which still puts up the same amount of boom. And so that's why it's sitting there. But it's a little die-cast Tadano. Johnson place has all kinds of. They do have quite a bit of room. But I'm not going to tell a truck driver how to do his job, but I am going to tell him where he's going to be when I'm picking the load off of his truck, because I'm not going to. I mean, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not going to fly something over his cab. I do have a pick coming up tomorrow that's going to be a pretty heavy one. I took the crane down to Manhattan, Kansas on Friday, which it took me about 3 hours and 15 minutes to get it down there. And then we're leaving our shop at 5:30 in the morning in semis to go to a window manufacturer, and they've got 124,000 pound autoclave coming in that I got to unload. Basically, my scope of the work is going to be pick it straight up off the truck, let the truck, or pick it straight up, let the truck pull out, and then set it down. And then I'm tearing down and driving back. And then we're going to leave a crew behind to move the machine in the building and set it where it's supposed to be inside the facility. So I'm sure I'll get some footage of that, and that you guys probably won't see that for about 2 weeks. What's the big differences in between them other than lifting capacity? Really, there isn't. And according to the literature that came with this little 160, supposedly it's a 200 ton. But I don't see it because Tadano's numerical system, the way it works is like the crane I operate, for example, it's a 180G-5. It's 180 metric tons or 200 US tons. Where a 160, I would think, would be 160 metric tons, and I'd have to convert that to US tons. But they have the same boom length, same jib length, same, as far as I know, same counterweight package. So I don't know. Leaders work's been there many times. Fort Riley's not far from Manhattan. Josh Wellner asks, how often do we replace the wire? Like replace the rope, like the running rope? Um, we haven't had to replace it as long as you maintain it. It runs over plastic shivs on the end of the boom. They're plastic, so there's no wear there. The only real wear that it gets is laying over itself on the drum, and some going up the back of the boom. But as long as it's maintained and you don't get it into a bunch of stuff, the running rope will last a long time. And we oil it. We have cable lube or wire rope lube that we oil it with. Brian, yeah, yes, the carrier does have, actually the carrier and the crane both have a Mercedes in it. Um, the carrier or the engine in the carrier is a V8 Mercedes. I think it's 575 horse, 2,200 or 2,300 foot-pounds of torque. It's mated to a computer controlled and computer shifted, I can't say manual transmission. It's basically an automatic transmission, but it's got a computer controlled clutch in it. And it actually uses solenoids to shift the gears inside the transmission. But it's a 16-speed transmission. And then the upper has a 185 horse 4-cylinder Mercedes diesel. West Coast Logging Alex wants to know about the rope as well. I can tell you it's 21.8 millimeter rotation resistant metric rope. I don't recall all the technical details on it, but I know it's 21.8 millimeter rotation resistant. Richard spent a summer running a tower crane. Oh yeah, I'm not doing a tower crane. Robert Bradford. I live in Topeka. I did go through on 24. We came down 59 to 4 to 24, and then west on 24 all the way to Manhattan. And that's the way I'll be heading back tomorrow. Jerry Bennett, what's the gas mileage? Actually, a friend of mine was asking me about that today at the campground, and we figured it to be right around 1 mile per gallon. Blue line about 7/8. Yeah, that's if you're running the conversion. Yeah, that's probably about right, right around 7/8 rope. Yeah, that thing burns fuel about faster than they can refine it. It's definitely thirsty. John Warren, is that a 3-pedal or 2-pedal automatic? It's got a foot brake and a throttle on the floor. That's it. It also goes through DEF like no other. That thing will definitely suck down the urea. James, we're running ouch. I would not want to have to put fuel on the crane. Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to put fuel in it either. I have to stand there at the pump and put it in, but I'm glad I don't have to pay for it. So basically, every mile I go with today's fuel prices, and by the time you factor in DEF, maintenance, and everything else, every mile is probably about $5. So that adds up pretty fast. So Andy with Cut and Clean said he was going to be on here, but he evidently hadn't showed up. Leader Earthworks, will it regen when you're lifting? It doesn't actually. I've never had it go into a regen with the DEF system. Jerry Bennett, it's about 150-gallon tank. Yeah, that's probably about right. It's probably about 150 or 175. Oh, let's see what the old book says. It's got to have it in here. It might take me a minute to find it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so far it hasn't said anything about fuel capacity. Still nothing about fuel capacity. No, doesn't say a lot. James Burgon asks, how many gallons of engine oil will the crane and carrier hold, and how much hydraulic oil? Okay, so I changed the hydraulic oil in the upper about a month ago, and it was total system capacity in the upper is 275 gallons, but when you change it, you only change about 235. Engine oil is right around 3 gallons in the upper. In the lower, it's right around 12 or 14 gallons, I believe. And then I'm not 100% certain how much hydraulic oil is in the lower. There's not as much in the lower because it's just running the outriggers and the steering and the suspension. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be right around 100 gallons of hydraulic oil in the lower. Brian D. No, the 4-cylinder in the upper is not exempt from emissions. It's got a DEF system on it as well. So yeah, emission systems, tier 4, both top and bottom. And actually, the emission system in the upper got us in trouble last year because it. On one of my videos, I don't know if you've gone back and watched all of them. I replaced an airline that I had to cut some fittings off, and I sweat some new fittings on and put a Teflon lined airline in, replaced a rubber lined line. And what the problem was is it was leaking air, and the upper uses air just for the sole purpose of running the DEF system. And when it lost air pressure, the DEF system wouldn't operate, and the crane went into derate. And we had to fly a guy in from Houston to plug his laptop into it, call Germany and talk to Mercedes and get a code to get it at a derate. And then he hopped on an airplane and flew back to Houston. So all of that because of an airline and because of a DEF system. And it seems like every live stream I do, I end up getting sidetracked by this DEF system, this urea because it is such a pain in the butt. And the government never did factor in all the plastic jugs that they're using petroleum products to make these plastic jugs, and then you got all these plastic jugs flying around the environment now. And I mean that I could go off on a tangent for hours about that crap. Blue Wolf, Houston, we have a problem. When did Blue Wolf sneak in? Did you just sneak in here? I think you did. How are you doing, Blue Wolf? James Bergeron, I agree. It's a horrible design. Brian D has still got his trusty 7.3 power stroke, 225 and going 225,000 miles. That 7.3's just broke in. I've seen him out there with 600,000 and 700,000 miles on them. The only drawback to them is at that point they're leaking so much oil that you can't hardly keep any in it. Blue Wolf Def is what it is. It is what it is. What are you going to do? I used to have a mechanic's truck. It was a 99 with a 7.3 in it. Man, I was hard on that truck. It was a company truck, so I could actually be harder on it. But that 7.3 is tough. Blue Wolf has really on the oil. Are you talking about my comment on the 7.3 leaking it? My wife's cousin's got an old 7.3 that I don't think he ever changes the oil. He just keeps adding oil to it because I think it just leaks enough that he just has a constant supply of fresh oil going into it. There it is right there. Brian D said, yep, eventually you don't have to change the oil. You just keep adding it. My wife's cousin's at that point with his 7.3. I'm not familiar with the Volvo FH. At Lead Earthworks, that's why he's sticking with the older Takeuchi. I don't blame you. Richard said 1 mile per gallon is as bad as a service truck. You get somewhere from 6 to 8. Now the 7.3s aren't really a hard rebuild. They're just people don't really put the money into them. They keep running, so they just keep driving them. So the old 7.3 Power Stroke, they're not difficult to rebuild. They just don't break down. So people don't really pull the engine out if it's just leaking. Well, if it makes you feel any better, Richard, I was getting about 9 today, 9 miles per gallon with my Ram Cummins pulling my camper. I'd say the hardest part about rebuilding a 7.3 is just getting it out. Brian Dees smokes like hell, needs injectors, still pulls like a freight train. I wonder if it's pulling like a freight train because you're getting a little extra oil into your air inlet somewhere and it's increasing your cylinder pressure. Yeah, but I was probably running 90. I wasn't going 90 today pulling the camper. I may have been going 75-ish in a 70, but I wasn't going 90. I did change the tires on my camper to a tire that's got a higher speed rating just in case I get in a situation where I've got to go faster than 77. The tires that were on it were only speed rated for 77. So I thought there may be a time that I might have to go 88. So the only trailer tires I could find that were rated for 88 miles per hour, I bought them. Admitted on video. I mean, I could admit whatever I want on here. I could just delete the video when we're done. But I like doing live streams. Live streaming to me is it's one of those things that you can really engage with your audience and talk back and forth. We can all get to know one another and shoot the breeze, talk about whatever you guys want. And then also live streaming is really good for adding watch time, which I've got more than enough watch time, so I don't need that. But beer, what's your favorite? I'll get back to that in a second, Brian. But the biggest thing is we can all interact and shoot the breeze. So Brian D asked, beer, what's my favorite? I don't drink beer. I'm a whiskey guy. Thanks, James, that you watch all of them and that you enjoy them. It means a lot that you guys enjoy my stuff. I mean, it really does. It humbles me. All of you guys humble me. Blue Wolf, that tank I lifted to get the balance seem harder than what it looked. Okay, I guess I can tell you guys why that tank seemed harder than it was looked to get centerline on. There was a couple things working against us. One, we didn't pull a tape measure on it, so that was the first thing. The second is where they had the label on it. It was dead center in the center ring, but the center ring was a little bit offset to one end, which is very uncommon in a tank. Typically, there's one center ring and they build off of it. And then also there was valving and whatnot. Like if all things were the same, there was more apparatus on one end versus the other. So with valving and piping and stuff, it was a little heavier to one side. But we got it on the third try. Brian D asked, whiskey, go on. My tried and true go-to is Jim Beam and Coke. Every now and then I get into some Maker's Mark and whatnot. I got on a Crown Vanilla kick for a while where I was just Crown Vanilla is pretty good, but Jim Beam and Coke is my go-to. And if you guys haven't, if you can't tell, if you watched my first video, the intro to my crane and my channel or whatever, at that time I was petrified of cameras. Now I'm just like, yeah, whatever. We'll just roll with it. But on that tank thing, I caught some flack from a couple people on that tank pick, which, oh well. I mean, like I said earlier in this live stream, there's more than one way to do things. Blue Wolf, that's when it nearly goes right. That's once you learn. Yes. And I could have edited all that out and made it look like we were rock stars and backed right in there, snatched the thing up first try, and uh, made the pick and been fine with it. But I don't like doing that kind of stuff. I don't want to edit out our stupid mistakes like that. I want to keep my channel as real as I can. I want my videos to be one that you guys can watch and be like, hey, they screwed up. Hopefully it's not a screw up you guys see in the news, but we had to pick that tank 3 times. It happens. That's really what happens when we go out on a job. Sometimes that stuff happens. So I'm not going to edit that out just for the sake of making us look better. I mean, none of us are perfect. And my saying, I've had guys on job sites that'll start running their mouth or whatever, like, hey, dude, as soon as you walk on water, I'll follow you, because there is not a single person on this earth that's perfect. So I'm going to keep my videos as real as they can be. If I would have had to pick that tank 10 times, you guys would have seen all 10 times. Lead Earthworks, Jason works a lot. Hey, tell Jason I said hi. I'm assuming he's at work because he does work a lot. John Warren, personally like to see how I'm making the videos. Like, you want to see how I make the videos, or you just like, you have to elaborate on that a little bit, John. Blue line, he edits out all his bad flying. Well, I mean, but your content's different than my content. Flying a drone around and picking stuff up with cranes, it's a little different deal. If you're crashing your drone into a tree limb, you might want to edit that out. Of course, that could make for some good video too. Anybody in here that, hey, there's Jimmy's tractor. How are you doing, Jimmy? But if you guys watched Logger Wade video right after he got that magnet mount from me and he strapped it to the top of that, I think it was on a skidder. First thing out of the gates, he knocks it off with a tree limb. I was cringing the whole time I saw that tree limb coming towards it, and it made a great video because you know what's going to happen. The whole time it's coming at you, you know what's going to happen. And then when it does, you're like, oh, it really did happen. So, Blue Line, you might want to leave some of that bad flying in there, or save the footage and just make a video of nothing but mistakes. You could throw together a 3-minute video of nothing but drone crashes, and it would be cool. People would watch it. That was funny. The whole ironic thing about when he knocked that camera off the skidder is I called him for something. Let's see. Oh, your link didn't show up, Brandon, for the video you were trying to throw up. But anyway, I called Logger Wade to say, hey, if you're strapping that camera mount to something, you might ought to put a tether on it just in case you knock it off. And he said, are you psychic? And I said, why? He said, because I knocked it off there today. And I'm like, oh, well, in the future going forward, you might put a tether on it. Jimmy's tractor destruction of expensive things gets the most views. There is a lot of truth to that, but we are not going to start with the Tadano. I know that would probably make viral video, but I would rather just keep producing content and let this thing grow organically at a nice, even pace. The drone won't let you crash forward because the sensor saw the crashes are backwards or sideways and off video. Oh. Well, that sucks. Robert Bradford, yeah, nothing's right. Or nothing's perfect, keep it real. I'm going to keep it real. That's all. I'm going to be as real as I can be. I don't know anything other. Blue line just bumpy flying sometimes. Hey, I have bumpy crane operating sometimes. But hey, Alex Williamson's Adventures, how are you doing? Jimmy's tractor, not a good way to get 10 million views. Unfortunately, if I did something stupid in that Tadano and it went viral and tore the crane up, that would probably be the last of my To the Top crane videos. Yeah, I couldn't believe if Stevie dropped that tree right on Logger Wade. Blue Wolf has, you have a wheel cage to work on tires. I don't do tire repairs. I'm not a tire guy. We do have a guy that does some of our tire stuff though, and any split rim stuff. We don't have a tire cage. but we have a remote filler, and we have been known to bury a wheel and tire combination under a front bucket of a backhoe and air it up from a distance. Because I know split rims can be pretty dangerous. If you call them out and then runs from split rims. Josh Wall, what's up? Pun intended. Perfect. Yeah, the thing with split rims is if you don't get that ring seated in there just perfectly, and if it's, I mean, you should wire wheel the groove that it goes in, wire wheel the ring, and if you don't get all that in there perfectly, they can definitely come apart. And they come apart about like an airbag exploding. So hopefully the audio is a little better now that I'm moved into the basement. My dog was barking a little bit ago, and I don't know that you guys even picked that up. Well, if they can destroy a wheel cage, they can indeed destroy a wheel cage. That's why I don't like messing with tires. The blue wolf, woof. I tried to get my dogs in the video on the one live stream, and I couldn't get them to come in the room. James didn't even hear the dog. So yeah, if I had been upstairs, you guys would have had that dog going crazy. Yeah, the tractor or the tires on the Tadano, they're not 435s. They're five. I think they're 525 ADR 25s. And I run them at 101 psi. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of energy in them. So Brandon, is your Mini X still giving you fits? Blue Wolf, they did a heli pick there, Sarah. Heli picks are cool. Those guys are a little bit crazy, and they're awesome pilots. Videos by Al. I don't carry a spare, but we have spare tires at our shop. Doug Larson, what's farthest from base and the longest trip you've had? Actually, the furthest I've had the crane out is where it's sitting right now in Manhattan, Kansas, which is about 3 hours and 15 minutes by crane from our shop. That's where we're working tomorrow. Elite Earthworks on and off. Is it temperature dependent on that Elite Earthworks? Yeah, heli pick will sweep the yard. It'll kick up all kinds of stuff. I watched one about I'm going to say it was probably about 14 years ago. They were setting rooftop units on a big building, and they had to ditch one of the units. The wind came up or something. Something happened that the pilot wasn't happy with, and he just swung over an empty parking lot and let her fall. Jason works a lot thinking some high pressure relief valve. Could be. If I had your machine sitting in front of me with a schematic, I'm sure we could figure it out. But one, we'd have to put it in my basement. It seems like when it's hot, it starts. Hmm. Did you ever get you a temp gun? Dude, we're gonna have to leave. It left a mark on the parking lot for sure. Brandon, you probably need to get a temp gun and start shooting some temperatures around your hydraulic cooler and just different places that maybe should have a good temperature drop or shouldn't really have a whole lot of heat involved. Well, something getting hot and saying nope, not working. That could be it exactly. I'm curious what you said. You changed your hydraulic oil, I think, didn't you? Curious what oil you put back in it. The crane's only 253 miles from SV Seeker. That's the guy that's building that big wooden boat. I don't remember where he's at, but I don't. I mean, what body of water is he going to put that thing in? So, Brandon, when you changed the hydraulic oil in it, what weight of oil did you put in? Do you remember? 46. Okay, that would be what I would run in it in this area. So Jimmy's tractor. That boat. What? Where's he at? Is he in Tulsa or someplace? And then let's see, Brandon's deal. Man, I wonder if you're losing pilot pressure. Most inland river in North America. Tulsa. What's that gonna do with that boat in Tulsa? I mean, there's a big lake. Grand Lake is right down in there. It's right between Elite Earthworks and Tulsa. Blue Line. He's running Takeuchi. I don't remember what model Takeuchi you've got, Brandon, but he's running the Takeuchi Mini. He's losing power when it gets hot. I don't know if he's losing hydraulic power, or engine power. I think it's hydraulic. I think it's a hydraulic issue. River runs out to the Gulf, so he's gonna. That's a TL2. Huh. TB 153. I can see what's going to have to happen, Brandon. I'm going to probably have to throw some tools in my truck and drive down to Joplin. So that guy's going to build that big boat, Jimmy. He's going to throw it in a river and cruise from Tulsa to the Gulf. My next question is, how's he going to get the boat in the water? So it's a pretty good sized boat. Bogs the engine down with probably a hydraulic issue. Hmm. Oh, Alex Williamson's adventure. His mom derailed his crane pick plans. So if anybody that is new on here doesn't or hasn't been over to see Alex Williamson's adventures, he is my only blind subscriber, and he probably going to be my only blind subscriber. But he listens to all of my videos, and then he's got a whole fleet of diecast and model cranes and heavy equipment and stuff that he uses and makes some videos with them. Leader, it works. I can bring it to you, and I don't want it back until it's fixed. What if it takes me 10 years to fix it? Blue Wolf, get a bigger hammer. Keep hitting parts till it works. I've got a big hammer. Huh. The only trouble, if you brought it up here, it'd be hard for me to work on it because I don't have anything to work it hard enough to probably get it hot. Because I mean, it sounds like you need to get it warm for it to start acting up, and I don't know that I could work it that hard where I'm at to do that. Now, in a few years, probably, because I'm thinking about putting a natural pool in. Blue Wolf, like you talking about cardboard to find leaks. That is the only way I look for hydraulic leaks is with cardboard. Hydraulic oil into your skin is not a good thing. And actually, one of my other subscribers, and I'm a subscriber for him, SP Scotty, he had a fuel leak on his Cummins pickup the other day. I think on injector number 4, and it was spraying. And he sent me a text to thank me for reiterating to him how important it is to use something other than your hands to find a leak, because I think his rail pressure is like 24,000 psi, and he used a piece of cardboard or something to find his leak on his injector line. So he made a point to send me a text and tell me that I kind of saved him a trip to the hospital, probably. Leaders works, dig up the neighbor's yard. I don't think my neighbors would be very happy about me digging up their yard. Excavators, too, can be a pain to find stuff because you may have a 3-pump system on that. So you could have one of those 3 pumps giving you fits. Depending on how it's set up, you probably have a pump that runs one track and like your boom and your bucket cylinder, and then another pump that runs the other track and like swing and your crowd or dipper cylinder. And then you could have even a smaller pump that is your pilot pressure. James Berger on had yeah, I didn't get to watch that video yet because I was camping. There's Andy with, well, it's Cut and Clean. Cut and Clean TV is the other half of G4 Outdoors. So if you guys have watched any of Randy and Andy's stuff on G4, Cut and Clean TV is Andy. He's the other half of G4, but he has his own channel, Cut and Clean. He also owns Cut and Clean Lawn Care. So, hey, Andy, thanks again for taking us fishing the other day, even though you outfished us about 5-1. Okay, so Elite Earthworks, you got a 3-pump system. Setting hooks on some donkey bass. What was that biggest bass you caught, Andy? Wasn't that like 15 pounds or something? 15 or 2.5? I don't know, whatever. But your 3-pump system, I'd be curious to see if you're losing pilot pressure out of the small pump when it gets hot. Amanda Connor, are the outriggers more for leveling or to prevent tipping? They just seem too short to prevent tipping. They actually do both. They're for leveling. You have to have the crane. The crane has to be within 1% of level when it's set up. Otherwise, your load charts are null and void. But then they also prevent tipping, and they do seem pretty short. The outrigger spans 28 feet from center to center. But you also got to remember that the carrier's heavy and then it's got a lot of counterweight on it. So the outriggers definitely keep it from tipping over. The wolf uses soapy water for air. Tyson burying noodles of bluegill. Yeah, he did. James Burke, I've never heard of setting hook on some bonky bass. Alex Williamson's Adventures of Fisherman. That's awesome. Blue Wolf, yes, the outriggers also spread the weight out. Great, going to order a few shirts here in a bit, Andy. Oh, Lee's going to order some shirts from Andy. That's awesome. Do you, Brandon, do you have any hydraulic pressure gauges at your disposal that you can borrow? Because I'm curious what your pilot pressures run when the machine's cool, and then what your pilot pressure is running when it's warm, and then also your main system pressure. See where that's at when it's warm versus cool. So Andy needs to get Randy up here, and we need to go catch some real fish. Okay, Brandon, you're going to need probably a 0 to, on your pilot pressure, you're probably going to need a 0 to 700 psi or 0 to 1,000. I'd probably put a 0 to 1,000 on it just to be on the safe side, but I would be surprised if your pilot pressure I'd be surprised if it was more than about 600. And then your main system, a 0 to 3,000 psi is what you're going to want on your main system to check pressure on it. And all the way it goes through that swivel is at the spot with the highest loads. I would say that would be the spot with the highest loads. I mean, the slewing ring on the crane is carrying not only the weight of the boom, but the weight of the load that's hanging on the hook plus the weight of the counterweight. So that's probably where all the stresses are, is right around that slewing ring. Later it works, you're just getting lower when the excavator acts up. Yeah, I'm sure excavator, you should be able to get in that thing and just operate it until you run out of fuel and not have anything change. That's too expensive a machine to not have it working like it's supposed to. Randy's too busy shooting holes in his Cub Cadet. What's wrong with Randy's Cub Cadet? Wells catfish, blue wolf. I think Andy ought to go noodling for some Wells catfish. That would be a video I would definitely watch. Those things are enormous. When I do a giveaway, will it be a box of drywall screws? Andy's still hating on my video on my truck where I put that outlet in the front bumper. I used drywall screws because I couldn't find the screws that were in the package, and those drywall screws are still in there. So, one, I don't know that I'll ever do a giveaway on my channel, but if I did, I might give away a box of drywall screws. Alex Williamson's Ventures. He's never caught that many fish in one day in that particular spot. Well, congratulations, Alex. Five fish is pretty good fishing. You outfished me. Okay, clean. Nothing's wrong with it. He's gonna make a flat and fix a flat. Blue wolf, 170 kilos. That's a big fish. Shoo. Jimmy's tractor is a backhoe 2 times as slow as an excavator. Jimmy's tractor, yes and no. One fish always better than no fish, that's for sure. The reason why I say yes and no on your backhoe versus an excavator, as far as just straight out digging a hole, as long as the hole's right behind you or a trench, and the trench is just right in line with you or whatever, the two will dig about the same speed. The benefits that an excavator's got over a backhoe is maneuverability is one of them. You can track into a place, you can track sideways, you can spin around. Plus, you can run 360, and you can set the dirt behind you or off to one side, so you're not having to handle your dirt as much or put your dirt in the way with an excavator. The leader Earthworks thinks backhoes are slower because you're limited where you can put the dirt. I would agree with that. Backhoes were actually initially designed, I believe, specifically for plumbers. So they could use them to dig a trench for their pipe, and then they had their front bucket, so they could backfill with rock and move rock around the site and whatnot. I think a backhoe was initially designed for a plumber or by plumbers or something, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Just going off of what I've heard over the years. What's the best machine to use for putting the fear in your enemies? Um, I don't know, Andy. It might be that Encore stand-up mower you've got, or walk behind. I'd say that Encore mower is probably the one that would put the fear into your enemies. The answer to that's very simple. Get a D11. The D11 is a pretty sizable machine that would put some fear in some people. I made a car safety first. I know, but what determines your swing speed, weight, or the amount of cable you can catch at the end of a swing? Okay, the swing speed is going to be dependent on what I'm picking up and where I've got to put it. And I mean, the swing speed is determined by a lot of stuff. If I've got stuff nearby, then I typically swing slower. If I was right out in the middle of a football field and I was swinging pieces of iron to someone building a metal building or something, I can flat get with it. But typically, I'm doing stuff that's pretty precise or pretty heavy. And the faster you get a load moving, the more inertia it has. So it exerts more force onto the crane when you are trying to stop it. So if it's something real heavy, I swing slow. If it's something really precise, I swing slow. Um, or if I've got a lot of stuff or people around me, then I swing pretty slow. But if I'm out in the middle of nowhere, like I said, I can get after it with it. And also the amount of counterweight that's on the crane determines how fast I can swing. Because that crane's got to not only swing the load, but if I've got 110,000 pounds of counterweight hanging on the back of it, it's also swinging that counterweight, swinging it and stopping it. So that makes a big difference on how fast it reacts. As far as the amount of cable I can catch at the end of a swing, I mean, all of it. I mean, you can have 330 feet of tip height and still catch that cable at the end of the swing. Dangling from the crane in the wind. The Encore shuts down city blocks. That's awesome. James Bergeron, his dad passed away in 2016. Used to run a backhoe. Yeah, I mean, utility companies love them because you can road them around too. I mean, a backhoe you can drive that around a city. Excavator, it takes a little while to get there. Blue Wolf, that's what I said about the crane twisting. Oh, you talking about like the chassis twisting, like the carrier? Is that what you're asking about there, Blue Wolf? Because the carrier does twist. I can feel it. If I'm picking up heavy enough stuff, I can feel it twist underneath me. James Bergeron says his dad was very skilled, very impressive. What he could do with a backhoe. On the side was just the backhoe. No, that takes pretty good skill. And one of these days, I'll probably get set out on a dirt job in our backhoe, and I'll get some footage of it. But our backhoe, it doesn't have joysticks in it. It's 3 levers and 2 swing pedals, so it's old school. So you guys will probably get some footage of that. There's probably nobody but old timers that will that would even know how to operate one of those. That would be one that Chris with Let's Dig would probably tell me, no way. It's when they use 2 cranes to pick a crane out of the mud in Denmark. Oh, I think I saw that one. No, I saw a video. They used a big crane to pull a big excavator out of a lake or a pond or something. James Berger and his dad ran a 4-stick case. Yep, we've got one at work. We've got a 580 case Super L 2-wheel drive with 4 sticks. I'd get 10,000 subs tonight if I'd shave the beard. The beard's not going anywhere. We voted on that on one other live stream, and everybody told me no. Well, one person said trim it. I think everybody else said leave it. Destin Finley's got a 4-stick case and roads it everywhere. That's awesome. I didn't know so many people knew how to run a 4-stick hoe. There's a lot of people, they see that and they're like, there's no way I could operate that. It's not really that bad. You run 2 levers with one hand. It's not that big a deal. Bill Westfall, can your crane do the same weight lift as what took Big Blue down? No, my crane is nowhere near as big as what Big Blue was. I don't have a wind alarm, but I've got an anemometer that I can keep an eye on the wind. Case controls on backhoe suck. I had to use them a time or two. They're not bad when you get used to them. Cut and clean. I should go. I don't even know. When did you say that GIE Expo is? Didn't you say that was down in Tennessee or something somewhere? Oh, James Berger on. Smack the old head on the ROPS. Yeah, that ROPS is tough for a reason. You're not going to put a scratch in it with your melon. And actually, some operators out in the mountains and whatnot, they were full on motorcycle helmets. Jimmy's tractor likes ones that use container. Yeah, that's a circular rail. That's a ringer system. Louisville, Kentucky, October 16th. I don't know that I'm going to make that in October. Logger Wade and some guys are trying to get me to go out to that Bunyan deal out in Ohio. I think it's the first week of October. I don't know. We'll have to see. Are you going to go to that GIE Expo, Brandon? There, Richard's in there. It is definitely called a ringer. James' birthday's in October. Well, don't forget to remind me, James, in October when your birthday is. I won't sing happy birthday to you, but I'll tell you happy birthday. Irishman 01, what's the average lifespan of the crane boom and cable before it needs complete overhaul or replaced? We talked about the cable a little bit earlier, but the cable is, and actually the boom too, it's all dependent on maintenance. So with the cable, as long as you don't get it into stuff, get it hung up on things, and you keep it lubricated, it will last a very, very long time. It's hard to say like an actual lifespan or how many hours. A lot of it's just going to depend on what you do with it. And as far as the boom, there's a recommended interval for tearing it down. I don't remember what it is. It's 3 or 5 years or something to actually pull the pack out and check things out. But the really the only thing that wears on the boom is your wear pads, and those don't really wear that much as long as you keep everything greased. So it's all dependent on maintenance. Oh, Leader Earthworks anniversary is October 20th. How many years you been married, Brandon? Oh, Andy, I've completely neglected the electrical socket next to it. It needs to have something plugged into it. Um, hey, should I plug this into it? You guys want to watch that? Or my old earbuds? 11 years. Been married 11 years. That's I'd say after being married 11 years, you can about go out there without getting in too much trouble. Maybe, I don't know. James Bergeron. There are grease fittings on the boom to grease each section, but they are pretty much in one place. There's actually several places, like down the sides of the boom. You got to pull some covers off to grease the boom pins, and then on top of the boom, you grease the inner wear pads, upper wear pads, with or through some ports in the top of the boom. And then to grease the lower parts of the boom, like the sliding portions that slide on the front lower wear pads, we actually do it with a paint roller and roll on grease. Bill Westphal, what schooling does it take to do what I do? No. Yeah, it's definitely not a jump in the seat and go. Okay, let's get the views. Hello from Tasmania, Australia. Hello, Stuart. As far as the schooling, I was an oiler for about 3 to 4 years before I ever started thinking about getting in the seat. And that seems to be pretty typical. Richard can pipe in too and probably add to some of that. He's also around heavy equipment quite a bit. But typically on a crane like the one I operate, you're going to be working around cranes for 3 to 5 years. I'd say 3 to 4 years. And hopefully you're with a good operator and they'll let you get some seat time on some stuff that's not as important or not as that's well, I can't say not as important. All crane work's important, but not as sketchy. So Leader Earthworks just got the okay if he wants to go. Well, we may have to road trip. Null Tech, keep up the good content videos. The bridge tag team lift was excellent. The boom extraction was something you don't see many companies try to do. The boom extraction was one I hope I never have to do. So I hope I don't do that ever again. That video does not do that justice. That was That was a terrible 2 days. It was heat indexes of 105 to 110, and nothing was going right taking that boom apart. I've got another bridge video coming up where we used a 2 crane pick on. We used our 100-ton Tadano on one side, and then the 200-ton that I operate on the other side. It's in queue to be edited, so it'll probably be out toward the end of the week. What's the difference between a rigger and an oiler? Okay, a rigger, they're primarily there just for the sake of hooking stuff up to the hook. So they need to know their shackle capacities, what rigging they're going to use. Riggers typically are professionals at hooking stuff up to the hook. The oiler is there to be an extra set of eyes for the crane operator and to help maintain the crane. So help grease the boom, help set the crane up, clean windows, and basically learn if they want to learn how to operate. So the oiler works under the direction of the operator. The rigger kind of does their own thing, but their job is to connect the stuff to the hook. Bill Westfall, do certain jobs require certain certificates? Yes, we do have to have certain certifications to be on certain jobs. And I even have some that we have to get some special clearance through the government to be in their facilities. I'll have to take October off to make all these shows. I don't know. October, typically October is pretty busy for us. I don't know that. I don't know I'll be able to do that. Later Earthworks always kill the skid steer. All right, you got my attention now, Brandon. They have equipment down there that you get to play in. Jimmy's Tractor, don't forget the Louisville RV show. I don't need to go to an RV show. I've got a camper that I'm probably going to hang on to for a while. Irishman, how rough are wrecking balls for cranes? What's okay? Irishman 01, as far as wrecking balls, they've got their place. There's a lot of buildings out there that even a high reach demolition excavator can't reach it. They are hard on cranes. I would never hang one on the hydraulic crane that I operate because it would be even harder on it. So you about can only use them on old friction rigs that have free fall to really use a wrecking ball. And those older rigs, man, they're tough as nails. So I don't necessarily think they should be retired. They've still got a place. They just need people in the seat that know what they're doing. I mean, a wrecking ball can be pretty dangerous. West Coast Logging was on a phone call. You didn't miss anything, Alex. Thanks for coming back. Hey, there's Randy with G4. I don't know if I'm going to GIE. We'll have to see. Elite Earthworks says yes on the equipment. Should the four of us get in the old Ram and head down to where'd you say it was? Kentucky, Tennessee, whatever. Technically, yeah, they let people with no business in a skid steer have at it. Perfect. Skid steers, mini X mowers with obstacle courses. That's awesome. Randy with G4. My camper's too small. Time for an upgrade. Jimmy's Tractor. For some reason, I just thought of Miley Cyrus. Jimmy's Tractor, are you saying that for some reason I reminded you of Miley Cyrus, or you just thought of Miley Cyrus? Andy, Jimmy's driving to GIE. If I can get away to go to GIE, I don't have a problem driving. Oh, the wrecking ball. Got it. Thanks for letting me know that, Alex. I'm not real up to date on my Miley Cyrus music, so but wrecking ball does come to mind. Came in like a wrecking ball. I don't think I'll be doing any of that. John warned us. Oh, cable cranes are a beast to run. Oh, yeah, those little friction cranes, man. Those guys that ran those, man, they had thighs like tree trunks for holding the brakes. Chief Outdoors and pay for fuel. I don't care. I'll pay for fuel. I don't care. My truck gets 22 miles a gallon on the highway, but I'm not taking the camper. If I'm taking the camper, you all are paying for fuel. West Coast, you have teenagers. I have teenagers as well, Alex. You got a 17-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old son. James Bergeron went to an event several years ago for YouTube. Oh, is that the Jeep Jamboree where Jeep sets up all the big obstacle courses and lets you just go tear up on a brand new Jeep? Late Earthworks. Brandon, it looks like you and I are paying for fuel, and Randy and Andy are just going along for the ride. Late Earthworks. I do not rock out to Miley Cyrus and the crane. Actually, I don't listen to the radio on the crane. The only time I'll turn the radio on in the crane is if I'm sitting and not doing anything for a while. Unimog Wars, that would be awesome. I would love to try to tear up a Unimog. I think that'd be like tearing up an anvil in a sandbox. Jimmy doesn't use hooks. Yeah, James, I think Jeep does an expo every year where they put together a big obstacle course and stuff and let people drive brand new Jeeps through them and just tear up on them. Richard can't post pictures, but made a little Meyer Cyrus sitting on a wrecking ball holding a sledgehammer for his model trains. If you guys haven't checked out Richard's channel, go check out Richard. He's got some pretty cool model trains. Ooh, West Coast logging. His dad ran a 98 link belt. Lost his left hand in the gears. Yeah, that's the whole gearbox is right off behind you. It would be easy to get your appendages wrapped up in them. I don't sit in the crane and listen to Iron Maiden. Brandon, if you're gonna bring your Jeep, I guess I could bring mine. We can go tear up someone's skid loader and then go tear up Jeeps. Looks like my live stream has been hijacked by lawnmowers, Jeeps, and skid loaders. Yeah, and that's a bad place to stand is behind the seat in one of those because it is noisy, especially if it's got all sheet metal house on it. Jimmy's tractor. Hey, FJ40's cool. I like the old Land Cruiser FJ40s. Yeah, and those friction cranes, man. If you were in the cab on those or in the house for any length of time, you'd go deaf. A lot of them have a two-stroke Detroit in them, and if they still got all the sheet metal on them, it is very noisy inside. We could throw in a crane. No tech. The other impressive pick was the 300-foot cell tower. Right from the cell. Yeah, that was a big pick. That was maxed out. I had 123 feet of jib on 197 feet of main boom. That was uh, that was a pretty nerve wracking day. Plus the fact that I would think I was good for 4,700 pounds, and the piece weighed 3,700 or 3,600, something like that. I mean, I was almost at capacity. I was within about 400 pounds of my max capacity, and then flying that piece clear to the top. And you got three guys right there ready to bolt it down. So there's a lot going on there. Richard replied to my message about Oilers time frame, but I don't think it posted. Richard, that seems to be about the going thing up in your area too, doesn't it? About 3 to 4 years oiling on a big rig before you ever get in the seat of one. Blue Wolf are breaking down power towers. The guys hang on. So they're hanging on the piece of the tower that they're pulling off the top and like riding it to the ground. Jimmy's tractor 2-stroke with a blower. Yeah, it is much louder than a 4-stroke with a turbo. Whew. James had a close call with the PTO shaft on a tractor. See, that's stuff that they won't let us do anymore. If there was a kid on a ride on a brush hog behind a tractor now, those parents would be in prison. Bill Westfall, what's been the hardest job I've been on that made me pucker? That cell phone tower. That's the one that scared me the most. Because in the beginning of that video, I talked about getting hit with a 44-mile-an-hour wind in the side with 197 feet of main and 43 feet of jib, and I thought it was going to break the boom in half. Leaders first. Oh, okay. They're Blue Wolf. They're on the tower, not the part that they're picking. Okay. Irishman, you ever seen Wrecking Ball tangled in rebar? Yeah, I haven't been around a Wrecking Ball much, but why did some Wrecking Ball cranes have old tires? Okay, the the tires on the boom, like under the cable. Okay, a lot of times they would have a tire between the cable and the wrecking ball, and that takes the shock out of the cable, keep you from breaking the cable. Like when you stop it all of a sudden, so it acts like a shock absorber. And then they would put some of them. They would put a tire up at the end of the boom, like right here. That way, if you reeled the ball too high to the top, it wouldn't crash into the end of the crane. It would the tire would act as a buffer. Cut and clean about a Tadano GR 1600 XL. Andy might be telling a small fib there. Yeah, I would say, James, that you are lucky. I've seen some farmers around here that have lost appendages because of PTO shafts. Amanda Connor, do I set up tower cranes? We do crane assembly. I'm not ever going to operate a tower crane, so that's one thing you guys will not see on my channel is me sitting in the seat of a tower crane. But we do crane assembly. So if someone called and wanted us to come pick crane parts, we will most definitely go do that. Jimmy's tractor. Wouldn't you say it's when you're most vulnerable at max extension, where small things are greatly multiplied? Okay, with a crane, you're most vulnerable when you have your load a long ways off the ground. So, like if I'm picking up something, even if it's 200 feet away from me, if it's only a foot off the ground, it's not as sketchy as if I'm taking it 300 feet in the air, because if it's only 2 feet off the ground, I can set it down. But if it's 300 feet in the air, I can't cable down fast enough to set it down if something starts happening. You're just along for the ride at that point. Dustin Finley, that's a true story. If they find your kid riding on a brush hog nowadays, they'd take your kid and your tractor. Cut and clean the dock I put in the river. That was up here in St. Joe. That dock was right by the Nature Center in St. Joe. And we're actually going in Wednesday and adding 2 more pieces to that dock. James, it would be cool to see a tower crane being put together, but where I'm at, we don't have a lot of tower cranes in the area. We're an hour from Kansas City, and there's a company down there that owns a few tower cranes, but they also own a crane company, so they pretty much do all their own tower crane assembly. West Coast Logging's got a bale. Hey, be safe out there, Alex. Take care of yourself. Jimmy's tractor, that's what he meant. Extend up. Yes. The higher you get a load off the ground, the more sketchy it can be. That's also where it's got the most leverage on the crane. John Warren, how long does it take to go to full extension on the boom? With just the main boom, if I run out all 197, I can get it all out there in under 5 minutes. James Berger on the same way. I would not run a tower crane. Yeah, I'm not going up in a tower crane. I didn't lose anything up there. I got no reason to be up there. Yeah, there's 3 to 5 years, but it also depends on the operator. Started running the crane at lunch and after hours. I chased a headache ball before I started making light non-critical picks. That's typically the way it goes everywhere. Um, the oiler that I run with, typically, you guys have seen him in my videos, is Rich. He's actually pretty close to retiring. He doesn't even want to learn the ins and outs of that Tadano. So he doesn't ever get in the seat. He doesn't care to. He's just there to help set it up and whatnot. Um, but if I had a different oiler, I would let them start getting some seat time. There's burger on there way too high. If something bad happens, there's no escape. That's true. You're there. Irishman 01. No, the cranes do not have an emergency button on them. The older cranes, you could free fall them. So you could just kick the drum into neutral and it would pay out cable as fast as gravity would allow. But the new ones, no, it's stand on the throttle and cable down, and that's all you got. Lead earthworks are part of the cranes we have to grease. Okay, the crane has auto lubers on it for most everything except for the boom sections. And like we grease the shivs and the blocks pretty regularly, not daily, but pretty regularly. And then the boom sections get greased. Like the grease fittings on the back of the boom for the inner wear pads, they get greased about once every 2 or 3 weeks or a month. We load them pretty heavy, and then the bottom of the boom we do that every few months. And that's determined too, like on your boom angle when you're extending and retracting. Tadano on the crane that I operate, they want you to be above a 70-degree boom angle, and that helps keep the grease on the boom. If you're boom down to 45 degrees and you start running it in and out, then you actually start scraping the grease off the bottom of the boom. Amanda Connor, when you have a heavy load and you hold it for a while, is there a lock on the cable down just in case it gets bumped? No, if I'm sitting there and I have to hold it for a long time, what I'll do is I'll flip my armrest up on the left side, and that shuts all the crane controls off, and the winch brake will hold the load as long as it needs to hold it. But I stay in the seat, but I just flip my armrest up. That way, nothing. I can move my arms or legs around. I don't have to worry about inadvertently hitting it and cabling down by accident. Jamesburg did not know about the grease on the boom. And all manufacturers are different, but most of the time, if you ever see me telescoping a crane in or out, unless it's a Broderson, um, it's at a pretty steep boom angle, and that is to preserve the grease on the boom, and it also is less wear on your wear pads. But like the turntable or the slewing ring, boom cylinder pins, and all that stuff, it's all lubricated by a central lubrication system. There's just a reservoir that holds about, I don't know, about a half a gallon of grease, and it's on a timer and it shoots grease in every so often. James, yes, it's kind of like an excavator with the armrest flipped up. It's got a switch in there and it just kills all the controls with the armrest up. So we're moving in on 2 hours. How's that? Everybody still hanging in there? Or people have stuff to do on Sunday evening? We've still got 26 viewers. Blue Wolf, I think, is a long fishing rod. Sometimes, I mean, it's not overly hard to control the boom, but sometimes it can be hard to control the load. And, some of that's dependent on wind. Sometimes it's dependent on people. I had a pick not too long ago where guys were just kind of yanking on taglines and stuff, and it gets kind of frustrating and hard to hang on to that, or to keep it under control. Blue Wolf. Oh yeah, it is Monday morning over there for you guys. So we're talking to someone in the future. Leader is works. He's good. His plan was do nothing today, and he's sticking to it. Perfect. My motto is doing as little as I can get away with. Travis Smith just got here. Do we do work with arborists? So we do some tree stuff. I don't necessarily like trees, but we do some. Trees are pretty unpredictable sometimes. Jimmy's tractor. It's Sunday. He's supposed to take a shower. Huh. James Berger on there. He stays the whole stream when he can. Has nothing planned for tomorrow. Thanks for your dedication, James. That's awesome. Bill Westfall, thanks for your insight. Hey, there's no such thing as a dumb question. The only dumb question is the one that's never asked. Bill Westfall, thanks for okay. Amanda Connor, just an FYI, I'm not a female. I'm a 50-year-old male using my wife's Gmail account. She will let me have one. Oh, well, I guess we'll just call you Connor. So that works. Tell your wife thanks for letting you subscribe to my channel. John Warren, you guys get into settings. Yes, John, we do set some precast cell buildings. And some of those can get pretty heavy. I think the heaviest one of those I picked was about 50,000. Jimmy's tractor. Katie said so. Irishman 01, is a crane ever got stuck going into an off-road job? Actually, once I got stuck. We were doing a house job, and luckily the homeowner, we were setting a modular house on a basement. This was back before I had cameras, but luckily the homeowner was a dirt contractor, and he had a D6 sitting right there, and a cornfield next to where his yard was going to be. And I needed to get the crane turned around, and he said I could just run off in that cornfield, make a U-turn, and come in. Well, I had the dolly behind me with a counterweight on it, and I was fine as long as I was going straight. And as soon as I started to turn, I started spinning. So I immediately stopped, and I locked in all 8 axles, put it in low side, and got on the throttle again, and then it just started spinning. So I stopped and got some help from the D6. Otherwise, I probably would have buried it up to the axles. But I mean, I might have been able to get myself out if I would have set the crane up and threw my dolly off and all of that, and put the boom over the front. I'm pretty confident I could have got out, but I didn't want to push it. Had a dozer sitting there. Why not use it? Jason works a lot. How are you doing? I'm glad you made it. Jason temporarily just walked on the door. Got to jump in the shower real fast and off to work. Whew. Mike Manfred, have I ever set concrete utility poles and hot primary lines? No, but I've done work inside of substations, and that's kind of sketchy. Inside of substations, you have to ground the crane, otherwise it gets induced voltage into it, and it'll shock you every time you touch it. Jason Workslot might be the single most busiest person I've ever seen. I wonder if he's going to leave my live stream on for his dogs to watch it, though. Jason works a lot. Don't need to eat. The meth keeps him full. Well, if you got a meth habit, you can't eat anyway because you got no teeth. But back to your question, Mike Manfred, I haven't set any concrete utility poles. I've set some concrete light poles. They were decorative, like precast light poles. Scroll back up. Need to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Jimmy's tractor said John Warner. Jimmy's scared of most scared of cell towers. Yeah, I don't like cell towers. I guess I mean I wouldn't mind doing the precast buildings, but I don't like setting cell towers. Secrets. Don't do meth after all. It's funny. Alex Williamson's Adventure's got a couple questions about the video before you shoot it. Lay it on me, Alex. Travis Smith. I like the crane in the background. About how tall is it? Well, thank you. And well, if you guys can hang out for just a second, I got a tape measure in another room. I'll measure it. All right, let's see. Boomed up where it's at with the jib at a 40-degree offset. It's about 50 inches tall. Jason Works Lot was timed out by Jimmy's tractor for 300 seconds. Oh, what did Jason's Works a Lot say when I got up? I think Jimmy's tractor may have gotten on Jason Works a Lot because of keeping it family friendly, I'm assuming. Oh, it was an accident. Jason Works a Lot. Jimmy's tractor is sorry and very apologetic for that. Ty Newman, bad people on taglines is the most frustrating thing. True story. I will agree with that all day. And if you guys will excuse me for just a second, I got to send a text. I guess we should have taken bets on how tall it was. Before I told everybody it was 50 inches tall. Oh, you couldn't undo the. Let's see. I don't know that I can let Jason Works a Lot out of jail. Well, I made Jason Works a Lot a moderator, and it still still won't let him out of Jimmy's Tractor's jail. So, Elite, if you wouldn't mind sending Jason Works a Lot of text and let him know that Jimmy's Tractor is sorry for locking him up. Jimmy's Tractor, it's 1/50th scale, no tape measure needed. True. How do I like that? I like the office setup down here. It's kind of my own little spot. I can do what I want in here. I don't have to worry about my wife's diplomas and all that, and don't have to worry about dogs barking. And plus, I can control the lighting better. I can control the sound better. So yeah, it's home. Jerome Baker, yeah. Mike Manfredson and Jason Bill Bond. Jason Brown, watch the logger here on YouTube. Oh yeah, it'll definitely light you up. Alex Williamson, absolutely. If it's got an engine in it, let's hear it on your video. Mark Mortensen, how are you doing? Been busy? Want to let him know he's watching? I like where you're at, nice and quiet. It is quiet down here. Jason works like I can still hear you, just can't type. Huh. Only like 180 seconds to go. Poor Jason. Irishman, any plans to get more model cranes? I don't know if I will or not. I mean, they're cool, but I don't know. I really wanted that one just because it's really, really close to the one I operate. I don't know that I'm going to go full on let's dig 18 and have glass cases full of cranes in it. I might get maybe like a 1/20th scale or something, or 1/200th scale. Maybe put it over here on my desk somewhere, an even smaller one. But so yeah, I don't know that I'll get a full fleet of them, and they are expensive. Jason works like, can you and the moderator see what I'm saying? We can see you. Jason's back after Jimmy put him in jail. Any swag plans in the future? Okay. Next time you rip the duct tape off my mouth, not so fast. It's funny. I am planning on getting some shirts made at some point. I don't know when that's going to be. I have a friend that owns a screen printing / shirt making company, and actually Randy with G4, he does some um, iron transfer, heat transfer shirts and whatnot. But I'm going to check into getting some shirts done. I don't know when that's going to be, but at some point I'll probably get some shirts done. So when I get to that point, I mean, what would you guys prefer? T-shirts, um, hats, like stocking caps, or like trucker hats, stuff like that? Or I mean, what would be the preference on stuff? If I was going to make something today, what would it be? Would you guys rather have T-shirts or hats, or what would it be? Alex Williamson finishes the crane has 1/16. Yeah, that'll probably be bigger than the one that I have sitting here if it's a 1/16 scale. Ty Newman was taking down ski lift towers top of ski hill last week, hooked a D9 dozer to the front of the crane just in case. Yeah, it would be nice to have an anchor if you're sitting on top of a hill like that. Jason works a lot, still working on my sticker, or still waiting on my sticker, just saying. Jason, did you ever email me your address? I don't know that I've got it on the list. And I've got a list of people I need to send stuff out to, and I don't think I've got it on the list. Okay, so it looks like t-shirts and hats. Yeah, Elite One shirts and stuff. Jason works a lot. I'm going to put you back in jail in a minute. Jason, email me again. If you already emailed me, then email me again. I will get you a sticker. Or maybe Brandon will take a picture of his sticker and send it to you, and you can use it to get your own sticker made. John Warren, I did get yours, and I apologize to everybody that I've got to get stickers out to. It has been chaos. Jason works like, I've been full support since day one over here, even offered to cover postage. I know. cut and clean TV. Where's my moderation? Andy, I know how you are. You're probably not going to be a moderator, buddy. You like to kind of stir the pot a little bit. Blazer too. I like hats. You can put a couple cans on just to stay hydrated. Hard hat. Yeah. Jason works like get your address off Brandon. Okay. I need an assistant, is what I need. Alex Williamson's Ventures first closing stuff. He's not really picky. Okay. So the hats and shirts are they're not anything I'm doing yet. Just so everybody knows that. But it is something I'm definitely looking into. Jake Break, what part of the state's am I in? You're in southern Arizona. Okay, I'm an hour north of Kansas City, Missouri. So I'm in the Midwest. Cat and clean. Yeah, I don't need to be a moderator. Need a baby. You do need a babysitter. Andy's one of those guys. I was I was backing his boat in the leg for him the other day because he was in his boat and walking, walking from the truck to the dock. I had to grab his drink, his cell phone. Naturally, had his truck keys, but I didn't know what else he wanted me to bring, so I just walked down with his drink and his cell phone. And he's like, "One thing you'll figure out, you'll have to babysit me." I'm like, fair enough. Jason works like I need an assistant too. I'll go and have someone with me. Perfect. Yeah, I will try to get stuff mailed out this week. Blazer, if you try Teespring or other online campaign to see if they sell before you spend a lot on having them. That's a good idea. And actually, Andy and I were talking about that yesterday when we were fishing. Andy with Cut and Clean is using Teespring, so that might be the route that I go. Mark Mortensen, your daughter doesn't want to be a secretary for you. No, she's a great kid, and I don't know how I ended up with uh, such a good kid, but she stays very busy. She begged us to let her get a job because my philosophy was, my wife and I we do pretty well, and I didn't want her to have to work because my philosophy is at her age, her job is to get her education, and I didn't want her to be sidetracked by anything else. And she begged us to let her get a job. So I was like, fine, go get a job. So she works about a mile from the house at a doggy daycare and loves it. And she's a 4.0 student. Um, Great kid, respectful, speaks her mind. She's very outspoken, kind of like her dad. But she's one of those people that in the future, she will question authority when it needs to be questioned. So I'm very happy about that. She's not a disrespectful person, but if something doesn't seem right, she's going to call someone out on it, regardless of what that person's position is in her life. If it's a boss that says, "Hey, go do this," and it's morally or ethically wrong, she's she's going to put up a fight, as she should. Jerome Baker, G5 outdoors, still here. That's awesome. I don't know where Randy's probably sleeping. G4's probably asleep, or he and Andy are texting or talking back and forth and conspiring something to derail my live stream. Jimmy's Tractor, you don't get why AVE types do Teespring. They take a bunch. I think the spring is great under 10,000 subs. Blazer up to you. Yeah, that makes sense. I'd hate to be sitting on 200 to the top crane shirts. At that point, I'd probably just have to start using my shop racks. Jason works like what to sleep. Okay, so for shirts or for stickers, I've got um, I've got to get some out to West Coast Logging, Dirt Digger Gary Johnson. Um, who else we got on the list? John Warren sent me a message that on the old Book of Face, so I need to add him on here. So if you want stickers, and I can't guarantee when I'm going to get them out, I'm going to try to get caught up on all this week. Send me an email. Jason works a lot. You can send me an email. Let me get down here where I can type it in. Oh, here's first. You can just send me Jason works a lot stickers. I swear, forget me one more time on that list. I get it faster that way from Elite. Jason, I apologize. I can actually look and see if you emailed me. I don't remember you emailing me, but that's not to say you didn't. Hey, Brian, 6180. Blue Wolf setting out. Where did I miss that? How did I miss that? I didn't see where Blue Wolf was saying he was leaving. Oh, there we go. Thanks for stopping in, Blue Wolf. As always, I mean, you're here on every one of them. I appreciate it. Oh, Jason did message me through YouTube. That's right. YouTube Messenger's gone. And demonetized. If my ringtone went through there. Actually, I'm not monetized yet anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, I remember that. My apologies, Jason. I've slept since then. Every day's a new day. Blazer 2 stickers. Yeah, I think I've spent about $150 on stickers. Yeah, Jimmy's Tractor copyright strike. I don't know if that was enough of it to get one though. That was like maybe 5 seconds of my ringtone. I need to turn that down. When the old battery's dead, I need to plug in. Okay, so Jason, if you wouldn't mind sending me a message to my email, please, and I will get you on the list with your address. And again, my sincerest apologies. I won't put you in jail now. Blazer 02, not enough time for a strike. Okay. Well, Jason's laying it on pretty thick tonight. Been wrong for a while now, so I need to redo it completely, which sucks. I know you are, Jason, and I can take it. Jerome Baker. I'm at 1,520 subs now. I didn't know that. Last I checked, I was like 1518. And for some reason, I don't know if it's the channel review process or what, but I've been like gaining and losing 2 and 3 subs a day and just kind of hovering around the 215 to 2 or the 15, 15 and 1520 mark for about the last 4 days. I'm not sure how many G5 has now. Cut and clean when he left the campground. There were like 2 fire trucks and a bunch of. I don't know. I didn't see any of that, Andy. I don't know what was up, unless someone maybe slipped and fell or something. I don't know. Jimmy's Tractor Blondie had like 60 subs today. He's in gender neutral. If I've got 1,520, then I've gained 2 just since I started live stream. Oh, G4 is at 1233 or G5. So there you go, Jerome. I guess I'm at 1520. He's at 1233. Oh, Blazer had to investigate a crane yesterday. Terex unit looked as big as the Tanano. Investigate it like because of an accident? Dickered with Dave. Travis Pastrana beat one of Elvis's records. Or Evil's record. Evil Knievel's records. What did Travis Pastrana jump? Oh, they drove over a parked car. Well, that can happen. I think I could run over a smart car and never know I hit it. It would probably be a little more than a splat on the windshield. Cut and clean. I'm gonna make Randy swim the entire Missouri River as I follow him in the boat. You'd be doing good to get Randy to swim across a pool, much less the river. That's one thing I'm thankful for on my channel is that when I post a video, I get some pretty good views out of it. You guys are great as far as being engaged in my content and watching. I mean, I can throw a video up and I've got 500 views in pretty short order, and with 1,520 subscribers, that's pretty significant. Andy, Tyson went back out with the minnows later that evening, and he caught a couple little bitty crappie and one small channel. I think it was about maybe a 12-inch channel or so. James Berger, when I throw a video up, you just like stop doing whatever you're doing and just start watching it, huh? That's awesome. I'm trying to exit a tight spot. Oops. Pulled a 53-foot trailer over a hood back in the past. Yeah, smart car would be not much. I honestly think I could probably hit one like pulling out of a spot, and I'd never know I hit it. Baker, what does the Tonano weigh? It's 129,000 without the dolly. Permitted down the highway 150. I think one of my tire and wheel combos on the crane probably weighs more than a smart car. I think the tire and wheel combo is about 1,400 pounds, and there's 10 of those. Blister to the front of the Buick you hit looked like a crusher hit the hood. So you pulled a 53-foot trailer over the front of a Buick? No, Jimmy, that's without the planetaries. That's just the wheel and the tire. It's about 1,400. So Blazer 02, were you trying to swing wide to make a right hand turn and they cut in on you? You drug it across the hood? Lead Earthworks. What do I have this week after going to Manhattan? Let's see. Wednesday, we're putting two more sections of dock in the river on that same dock that I've got video of. And then I'm not sure. I know we got one other job coming up, but I'm not certain. And then Saturday, I have to go to Gray Manufacturing, and Randy with G4 actually used to work there. They make two post, four post car lifts and jacks and whatnot. And we'll have to go there and set some air conditioning units on Saturday. Cut and clean TV, who gets paid the most on a job site? Well, it depends on the job site, but as far as operators go, I think I'm the highest paid. At least with our company, I'm the highest paid. Like we've got our two big cranes, and me and one other guy get the most pay on those two big cranes. Jimmy's tractor, my baby lawnmower planetaries are 100 pounds each without the hydro motor. I can believe it. Ever get joint pain? Had tendonitis. Jake Brick says, "You ever get joint pain? I have tendonitis in my wrist, running machines and a shovel." I do in my knee, and mainly my left knee, and that's one that I've injured before, and that's also the one that I keep crammed on the swing brake a lot. So there's times that my left knee's hurting bad enough that it's actually kind of hard to walk on it. Trying to get an old plant drove before, and they decided to try to get parts. Oh, John Moore never ran over a car. Had one try to go through a trailer. That probably didn't work out very well. Hirschman 01, have you ever had to walk away from a job site because the site was too small? No, I've never walked away from a job. Every job that I've been sent out on so far, um, I've been able to do it. Now we've had to change the way we were going to do things or whatnot, but I have. Well, okay, there was one case that I couldn't get the crane in there, and it was a different crane. I couldn't get the crane in to make the pick because the power lines were right above the machine that we had to pick. So we brought a different machine in. One of our Versa lifts. It's like a supersized forklift, to offload that machine. But typically, if the job site's going to be an issue, then we'll go look at it and plan accordingly. Probably hurt my knee squatting. I've never squatted 1,200 pounds. I've squatted some weight, but never 1,200 pounds. James Bergeron had the same problem, injured his left knee on 16th birthday, completely locked up. Yeah, that'd be a bad deal. Have your knee lock up. All right, we're closing in on 2.5 hours. I'm probably going to shut this thing down at 8:30. I still need to have a little bit of evening before I go to bed at about 9, so I can get up at 5. Kind of like a movie smile. Yeah, Smokey and the Bandit. That's a great movie. Jerome Baker, am I in the operators union? I am. I'm local 101. Kyle Austin, what's the best approach to becoming an apprentice? I'm currently a rigger looking to fulfill your dream. I don't know where you're located, Kyle, but you're going to have to go either to your local IUOE training site or local union hall and talk to a business agent, see if they're taking people in, and then if they are, apply. And if you're currently a rigger, I would think that I mean, it depends on what part of the country you're in, but you would have a leg up on anybody else that's coming in that doesn't have any experience working around equipment. So that would be the course of action I would take. Leaders first. Yes, it is tough on your joints not being able to move around much. And I'm fortunate that the crane cab's got a comfortable seat in it, and there's room in there, but it still sucks getting stuck in one spot. Blazer too. I'm glad I'm not over the road with current crop of drivers I see these days eating, texting, listening to nav system or work. Yeah, I know. Irishman, I want to. Yeah, it's 8:28 here. Western Thompson never hit a car. The curb and sign was embarrassing enough. Kyle, where are you located? Kyle Austin. Ontario, Canada. Boy, I don't have any connections up there. Jimmy's tractor be wondering where my chocolate shake was about now. Yeah, I'm probably not getting one of those today. We're all kind of tuckered out after camping all weekend. So Ozarka bottled water it is. Well, we got about a minute left before I shut this thing down. I appreciate everybody jumping in and all the comments and people watching. Cut and clean. If I had choice of a dream job, what would it be? Probably professional bass fisherman. Or like maybe a test driver for Lamborghini or someplace. Jimmy's tractor had to keep making sure it doesn't hit pause so quiet compared to my beard. Yeah. Irishman 01 has CDL and hasn't used it since you got it. Well, keep your CDL because you will use it at some point of your life, I promise. All right, it's 8:30. I'm gonna sign off here in a second. Thanks everybody for jumping in and watching. We'll do another one 2 weeks from today, 6 p.m. Central. In the meantime, I'll try to get back into my normal routine of maybe 2 to 3 videos a week. And I'm going to work on this list of getting stickers out. If anybody wants to add to that list, I threw my email up in there. It's tothetopcrane@gmail.com. You can email me there directly, and I will do what I can to get the stuff out to you guys. But just remember, I'm one person, and I'm pretty busy this time of year. So anyway, thanks again, everyone. Have a good night. To the Top Crane is out.